No, not just yet.
I'm just wondering.
Paying attention. But, paper out. I have to run, quickly speak to another teacher. However, I have a task for you, and I think we've done enough Punnett squares, you might be able to figure it out. I need everybody's attention. The ones we're going to use is handedness. If we're using this for handedness, what does the R stand for? Right. So what does little r stand for? Left. We use the same letter for both dominant and recessive. What does big B stand for if we're talking about eye color? Not blue. Brown. What does little b stand for? Blue. Now, I do want to emphasize this because a lot of people leave here and going, I learned that blue is always recessive. Every single trait I've mentioned, there are other genetic things that can go on. True Mendelian genetics is rare. It's a bit like physics doing everything without friction. We assume things to make it easier. There are a few traits that actually are pure Mendelian genetics. They're useful for that, but for others. So if you happen to be brown-eyed and you had two blue-eyed parents, and you're like, am I adopted? You might be, but there are cases in which that can happen, so you don't have to immediately assume it. I'll show you one in which someone has figured that out at times. What I would like you to do is what's called a dihybrid cross. You have been doing monohybrid crosses. So we'll use me as an example. My parents, my mom is right-handed and has brown eyes. No, let's make it, because obviously I don't necessarily know the recessive one, so I'm going to do this. And my dad is left-handed with blue eyes. Now, this is not the normal 4x4 square. So where we normally would do this, think about what gametes you'd have to put in each one to comparison. So you're going to need some more columns and then come up, what is the phenotype and the genotype? So what percentage of their kids would have brown eyes, blue eyes, left-handed, right-handed, and then the genotype, the percentages for each one. I'm not going to put you in groups, but I'm going to say do it at the board and get into groups. No larger than 3, no smaller than 2. Find your people, go to the board, and do this cross. Mr. Neufeld's parents.
I was gonna do 5. But then I realized I don't need to. I want to do socials, but I realized I don't want to do a socials AP if I don't need to.
No, you did it.
Okay, sorry. I think I'm doing right now. I'm doing 2 AP. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm doing 8 English
Are you doing foundations of math? It's your
Just so like I have the eraser. If you would like to write like the one.
Here, I can easily.
So you want a pen? Not like the one that like makes
you a
I
chance.
got Matthew, I got my
First.
Here, give me the eraser. That was ours, bro.
Why would you?
Grab the rag, dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. No, I think it's like, I think we only need.
There are some very creative things. Yep.
When are we getting all the pens?
Is this wrong?
If you come and see me in the afternoon, I can show you exactly over in detail what you did right and wrong.
I think it's like.
I can probably also post it on ZipRate.
Wait, did you post our quiz on the game?
Well, I won't do it now. But if you email me, I'll do it later on today.
Because you have to do.
And then, pardon? You were doing an interesting thing. It is close to the right thing, but it's not. I'll give you, I think you're the person close, so I'll give you a hint. They're also technically closest, except
Is this?
they're doing a better job in their children. They actually have gametes.
Yes.
So you need to fix that. However, those are good gametes. What you're doing is no, you erased it. Put it back. It's wrong. But it's useful.
I got good garments.
What's good about that one is that you can see the child has two sets of genes and they have all of them. What is missing is that they're the same genes. So you've divided them up, but you haven't divided them up enough so you're getting one from your mom and one from your dad. You're actually getting both from one or the other.
Okay.
And that shouldn't happen. If you fix it that way,
Oh, I know.
Is this? We got good garments.
two spread out.
Like this.
Okay, so.
Spread out.
Not quite. You're still getting all your genes from one parent.
I don't get it.
What? I don't know, like, just keep thinking. I'm gonna set up my own. You're confused, I'm confused, bro.
There's two of them for each of them, right?
Might be.
This is one parent, and then this is one parent. There's two of them. Two letters in each one. So that means there would have to be two. For the kids.
And then it'll be this one.
No, that's the best boy.
I noticed this like, I'm pretty sure this one.
What?
Log.
Yeah, that's
Okay. I was pretty sure. But like,
Mr. Neville, you spelled mom incorrectly.
Pardon?
you spelled mom.
Oh, I did.
No, and then we're trying to find
Or BB. Yeah, that could be. You know, we can have what else? What might it actually got?
See, that's what I originally did.
RB.
we went to say so toxic masculinity.
But yeah.
And then there's BB.
Wait, Mr.
Yeah, wait.
Is there a spray over there?
No. So the all the
Yep.
possible combinations for this one, right? The way this is
Nope. The children only have one set of genes each. Some of them have no eyes. Some of them have no hands.
Can you check our social?
I'll come and take a look. Yep.
YRB.
I'm getting some visuals.
You can't. Is this it? No, because here, look at it. This is right hand. So that has to be right hand side blue eye. Right hand side. That's to be yellow. So they're all little R, big D. Is this correct?
Wait, so how do you want me to write it?
It's corrector.
The top?
Doesn't have all the possible combinations.
Okay.
Those of you sitting down, you're giving up. Stand up. Get to the board. Start writing things down. Let's go. Nope. You have not. Your children are lacking either eyes or hands.
No, I don't know. That's the second one. So R,
But you must care. So much better. Except, still,
Yeah.
That little R.
the ones that,
So where do you want that?
oh, they're much
Is it
closer.
like this?
Much closer.
Dude, I'm so beyond.
So close.
Yeah, that's
No. But the Kieran group, I don't see who else was Kieran.
And Will.
And Will, Kieran and Will are doing a good thing.
Yeah, alright.
Figure out how they got that.
So we told you that. Can you explain how you did this?
Okay, so look, there's two right hands.
Wait, no, finish.
So, big R, little R.
So you just do all of those.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So it's also RB.
Yeah, they're all the same. This one, but the dominant
So then we have the R and B.
big B and little R. So this for all four. For all four here. Let me get my own thing.
I'm so
Okay, what's the only combination on this?
genetics have to be
So this is the only combination.
Why? Yes. Well, I mean, this person here, their genetics are blue eyes and white eyes.
It's just
because
it's
blue eyes.
It's because
And that is shown. When you look at all of that,
oh yeah. You know what? I'm close.
here, the top one there, the B's aren't dominant.
Yeah, I know they are.
So are the Capricorns.
yeah, they're dominant because there's two.
Oh no, they are.
Oh wait.
Here in your message. Okay. Little B.
Little B's little R?
Yes. Little B's little R.
Why are you sitting down? You're on your phone?
No.
Only one person's writing, you're not helping them?
But yeah, we are helping them right now, Brian. We are
Okay.
You're just on your phone, you're not helping.
We can have
Yeah, like we
Are you
don't.
sitting, you're not working?
B,
Yeah, but we cannot
R,
have like three people at the
No,
same time.
they're definitely helping you there, because it's a good start, but they're missing like,
so I guess all capital B.
get on, Kim.
What is this, capital B?
Yeah.
I mean, look at them, at least they look, like, Birdie, sitting down, but he's got like his hand on his chin, he's like, he looks like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, we know what they're doing.
Ben is completely on the wrong track. He's doing useful things. It's close in a weird way. Ben, the main thing is that every box is a child,
So then there's
and they're missing half their genes. You need both R
You're not
genes
lost
and
me
E.
already.
So if you look over here,
I thought they get through on it.
when there's
I don't know
a,
how this stuff works.
Okay,
Here
so
in the middle,
each child needs one hand and one arm.
which is
Yeah.
useful.
we don't have or
No, 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 so everyone has to have a B.
What are all the possible? What are
I
all the
think-
possible combinations?
Yeah, Kieran, I think you're missing a row on the bottom.
Only one capital R.
Oh, switch.
Only one capital R.
You need 4 rows because there are 4 combinations, even if they're duplicated, just like you did up top.
So you can
Or am I?
You have fixed the number of boxes. If you combine that with the gametes you had, with the idea of the gametes you had in the first one,
Big R.
you two, go talk to them and then bring that knowledge back.
Yeah.
No, go talk.
Okay. And as it goes across, you can see the rock and go
Yeah, ours is like all.
So,
I don't know.
big R, big R.
so there'll be.
Why?
According to my math.
Wait, so
Kieran, did you say I don't know?
There's two.
It makes sense, but like it doesn't.
But how did you get there?
Okay, so each person needs one hand, one eye.
Yeah.
So there has to be well, one of each.
Yeah, there can't be two big
Yeah.
B's, pal. You can't have two.
And then you just do the possible combinations. So you can do why can you not have RR though?
And they're doing enough.
Wait,
I don't know if they
okay,
discovered
because
it.
you have to have one.
Yeah, there's coffee.
Wait, so it's R. So you can do big R, big B, small R,
They've got
small
them going
B,
on.
and then another big R, big B.
Okay.
It's like doing a polynomial.
Yes, that's the whole thing. That's how you do it.
I've heard a group explain it.
Yeah.
So for your gametes, those are the ones that go across the top and the bottom. Good. For every single allele, you need a combination. So this R, I'm going to do a different color. This R can go with that B, and it can go with that B. And then that R can go with that B, and that R can go with that B. So you get 4 across the top going R, B, R, B, R, B, R, B. But they're different. They're different alleles. Down the side, you would have R going to B, R going to B, R going to B, R going to B, and you'll get 4 different combinations.
I did it without him explaining.
That's all our
Those all have to be
You told me to write it.
I just remember how we were 4 last night, and 2 people this year.
So how many are big are
They don't seem over.
10. So how many are right-handed?
Okay, I can explain to you from could happen, so this could be different ones. So there's 4 combinations. Right? So you've got this arm, this arm, this arm, this arm, that. That's why it's 4.
So me and Timmy are
Wait, if there's 2 recessive, but 1 dominant.
Yeah?
So if there's 2 recessive genes and 1 dominant in the same child, for this one, right?
Why did you put the R's and B's
Yeah,
together?
even with a sheet of nuts.
This isn't a music thing. There's no R and B. There's only BBs and RRs. So you have to join them correctly.
Well, I'm so good.
So it would be like it'd be R and like this.
So you take this, you take these 2, like these. Like this.
Yeah, I know. Here we're getting.
First, you first.
Okay.
So arms, just stay that changes. Changes.
Is this right
I don't know anything about it.
So all of these ones are so that
Yeah, but like history and knowledge. Red-handed and blue.
I don't know shit, bro. Obviously,
that's much.
they're one of the best drivers here in
That there is
Yeah, probably the best.
Bro.
so 1, 2,
Lewis Hamilton's not on track.
Jimmy, Ben, Jonathan. Here you are. Ariel. Yep. Zoe. Lisa. Yep. Felix. Zane. Matthew. William K. Yep. Alejandra. Birdie. Kieran. William Wren. Yep. Naomi. Hugo. Sahir. Yes. Sahir. Yep. And we're all here. Well done. I think everybody's well on the range of figuring that part out. Yep. I'm about to write it. I think I see everybody has done it. So when you're doing it, this is what I'm doing. R R. B B.
So he's gonna get figured by it. So you go to the cars are
We have all arts are canceled. You know what's arts? Yeah, and we still have to look at yours. Yeah, ours. Like the very first one has the capital R. That's the capital U.
Like that's.
Do we do drawing and painting next year?
Yeah, that's.
You got, I think it's
Yeah. So how many are just right papers? How many are just right?
Mr. Newfield, is this right?
Is it?
Do you know
Is it matching?
I just looked. It's all R. Big R.
Now, do you see how I was getting these?
I don't get it. I thought.
You have to put the R's together and the B's. I don't think it's right.
Oh.
So, this is,
Yes, I can explain. So,
this is, let's go here. This is Dad. The only thing Dad has is little r. He's got two of them. And little b. So that r goes with that b. There. 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 So they're all the same. Right? Mom. Once again. That r with that b. That's one gamete. So that's one. That's the second. So they look the same. But that little r with that b, and that little r with that b. Those are all the combinations from
It's the
mom.
first two that replicate with the second.
Yeah, so these now replicate with those. So then you take big R, little r,
Let me do the other one.
and then big B, little b, and that is the child. Yeah?
It is possible if my parents are, like, it's not my case, but it's a friend case. If my parents are both right-handed, is it possible to me to be, like, left-handed?
I will ask you to answer that. Do I know whether or not, if my mom, say, has brown eyes, do I know if the gene I can't see is blue or brown?
No.
No. So my mom could be that, but she could also be like this.
Okay, we cannot see the mask.
We can't see the mass gene. So without a genetic test, we don't know. So can two right-handed people have a left-handed child? Absolutely, because they could both be recessive.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got a friend that is left-handed and I
Yeah. No. The ones that are more difficult is if both parents have the recessive trait and you get a dominant trait. And it's like, how did that happen? So, like, two parents are blue-eyed and you end up with brown eyes. Now, there are cases because there are two alleles for brown and blue eyes that behave like dominant recessive, but there's like 10%, which is a large number, where other spots in the chromosome will regulate how much color. So it actually is possible to get a brown-eyed child with people eyes. So you can't, it's not 100, and for eyes especially, 10% is really high.
Oh, no, that's
For
bad.
blood type, which we'll do after, blood type is like very Mendelian. So like if your parents have certain blood types and you have a different blood type, there's cases in which you're like that, there's something going wrong. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. People have found out they're adopted in high school.
That's what I told him, but he was like,
That must be so like you just wake up one day, you got blood test.
It is at the point where it is recommended that high school teachers do not have students do their own pedigree anymore. Because it happens often enough, and there are sometimes good reasons why they may not want to tell you
better than you. Yeah.
that your
We did
dad
it faster. Yeah.
is actually your uncle and your grandma's your mom.
No, we did it. I can explain it to you
Wait,
right
what?
now.
Wait, hold on. Wait.
Because
Humans are weird, man.
the R-
Wait. Okay.
There is someone in this school
It's like
whose
Your
mom,
grandma, your mom is crazy.
whose father
the world doesn't revolve
and their mother, but for their father, his wife is also his aunt.
How? Let's go.
Yes. Oh. Who?
I know it's last year.
Oh, yeah, such a
How did you get
Going to the
this one's square. They're all the same.
Ah, they are all the same, but if you truncate it, you don't get the right odds because they all could have been different, right? Who said that? Was it here? Was that you?
No, I wasn't talking
Came
about
from over there.
I
So,
wasn't talking about that. I was talking about the worksheet.
oh,
Yeah.
We could use my question to teach the class.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay, attention, because everybody stop. The next part is figuring out the genotype and the phenotype. So the different possibilities, take a look at your square. Do I have everybody? Take a look at your square. How many of them look like that? Out of 16. Zero. Is there one of them? Because that would be really weird. No, there's none there. How many of them look like that? Zero. So there's a lot of possibilities, and you could just pull it off the screen, but I want to go through all the different types just so we can see. I want to go through all the different types, but I didn't go through all the different types of the first one. Oops. Come on. If I have R, B, how many are like that? R, little b. So there's a lot of types that just get eliminated right away. Birdie. And you can put away your laptops. You don't need your laptops out. Why are your laptops out? Put them in your bag. In your bag. In your bag. What types do we have?
Big R, little r, big B, little b.
How many do we have of those?
8.
So, 1. Gentlemen, you're supposed to be counting as well, and you can be working ahead if you already see what I'm doing and getting the numbers down. So we have 8 of those. 1, 2. I find it helps to keep track. Color them in when you find them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of 16. What's the other type we have?
Little r, little r.
Little r, little r.
Big B, small B.
Big B, small b. How many of those have we got?
8.
8. So these particular pairing of parents can only produce 2 different types of children out of both of those genes. So there's a 50% chance of this and a 50% chance of this. That is the genotype. What is the phenotype of that one? What is that?
A 1-to-1 ratio.
It is a 1-to-1 ratio, but what is the phenotype?
Right-handed brown eyes.
Right-handed brown? What's the phenotype of the bottom one?
Left-handed brown eyes.
Left-handed brown. Now I said that those are my parents. I am blue-eyed and right-handed. What conclusions can you draw? Yes.
Blue-eyed and red. So you have a dominant R, so a big R.
Yeah.
So your R, your capital R, lowercase r.
Yeah. Or yeah.
And 2 lowercase b's.
Yeah. Is that possible?
Oh no. So is it not possible for you to?
Right. So what conclusions can we draw?
You're not normal.
I'm not normal. Yes.
You could have gotten genes and traits passed down by your grandparents.
You gotta skip generation.
Skipping generation is literally the recessive genes. Is there any way that
So you're adopted.
so adopted? Dad's not my dad.
Dad's your uncle.
Dad's my uncle. Mom's my grandma.
What?
Mom's your grandmother.
Could also be that Mendelian genetics doesn't work well. By the way, do I actually know the recessive, the second gene for this one I would know because I would see the trait. But for all of these, would I know that? No. You don't see the masked trait. So I gave you an arbitrary example. I would assume that my mom has brown eyes but carries the recessive gene. However, for eye color especially, it works as dominant recessive in about 90% of cases. But in 10% of cases, which is a really high number in terms of wanting something to work all the time, you actually can have a brown-eyed child born to two blue-eyed parents. Because although there's two main genes that control what your eye color is, and those alleles will determine in a dominant recessive way, there are other genes on the chromosomes that will control how they're expressed. And that regulation can mean that you can have the brown-eyed genes but still have blue eyes. And that can also be passed down. So for eye color especially, it does not fit normal Mendelian genetics. And all those traits I talked to you about the other day, you should be aware, a lot of them are not 100%. They're not necessarily 100% Mendelian, especially things like cleft chin. You've seen people with a really striking cleft chin. You've probably seen someone without it, and people can have a variation in that range and how pronounced it actually is. They fit Mendelian genetics good enough for grade 10 science class, but just like in physics, that when we ignore friction and make things a little simpler, we pretend things are Mendelian even when they're not. There are some genes that are pure Mendelian. Blood typing almost always is. Blood typing to the point that before we had DNA evidence, we would trace ancestry using things like blood typing. We would solve crimes with blood typing. Because if you had a certain blood type, based on what was left at the scene, it would have been impossible for you or likely for you. And we'll do blood typing next. So one thing to take away from this, it isn't always strictly Mendelian genetics. So just because your eyes are brown and both your parents are blue, don't freak out yet. Maybe they just didn't want to tell you were adopted, or maybe you're one of those 10% of cases where it's not like that. But it is at the point where we have been advised as science teachers. I use my own parents. We're not allowed, not really not allowed, we're advised not to give you assignments where you go to your parents and fill it out. Number one, it excludes those who actually are adopted. They don't know what their parents are, so they can't do the assignment. You have to give them something completely different. And too many students have found out that their parents are not the parents. And it's caused a ruckus periodically in class. Now that is something that you can do. You can find these online and you can just start going through your traits and just see which ones you picked up from which parent. It is a cool and sort of interesting exercise to do. But just like 23andMe, when you start doing stuff like that, you get some interesting surprises. Bertie.
You said both your parents have blue eyes and you have
No. My mom has brown eyes.
And you have
I have blue eyes.
And your dad has
blue.
So then you have brown. Oh.
Right. So what it would have to mean is I said this for my mom, but this is almost certainly not correct. Given that I do have blue eyes, it's probably like this. I got a blue eye gene from both of them. But that part about regulation on the chromosome is really important too. Like all of their children have blue eyes. Every single one of them. So also genetics doesn't always fit into a thing. If you have a 1 in 4 chance, you can still hit that 1 in 4 chance every time, just like that.
My dad's got brown eyes, my mom's got blue eyes.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, well, the other wrinkle is that we've just done incomplete dominance. Green and blue would be an example of codominance. And so there's more than 2 genes. And so the person with the brown eyes may also be hiding a green-eyed gene, and when those two interact, whether or not green and blue just depends on which one's expressed more. So let's finish off this page. You've now seen the hardest thing you can do in grade 10 genetics, which is the dihybrid cross. It's not particularly hard. There's a lot of like counting and putting the numbers together to get the percents, but it's not too bad. I asked you last day to make these together.
Yes.
And I had to see it before you went.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions on that? Because now, I don't think I need to do it again then. Other than, oh, hold it. What I would like you to give me is the phenotype I keep making R's when I mean. Okay. Give me the phenotype. Type. And the genotype. Of the F2 cross. Because you just made the cross last day. Put it in there. Give me the percents or the fractions. I don't, actually you can do both. You can do both, one or the other, it doesn't matter.
Would it be a 50-50 because there's 4 R's and 4?
Well, for this one you're making these children.
Yeah, would it be?
So you've got R, R, and we've got
Oh, we're doing it for the
F2, for the F2.
F2, okay.
W, W.
No, because it's oh.
I've already done this.
And I will ask someone to present me with what they are.
Genotype is how it looks.
It would be
Phenotype is all the different combinations that you could do. So like the top one was the 4 different combinations. But and genotype is what looks like. You could have a phenotype which is big R, little r, but the genotype is just big R. That's all you see.
yeah, it's ratio. What if you be 1, 2, 1? Oh, yeah, genotype is
Yeah, we have to do like
I'm actually not.
I'll do a love song.
Everyone loves softball.
Oh wait, it has to be, yeah. Like it has to be like something. And you actually have to like do work instead of
We did the same thing. What do you mean?
It's called two birds.
Oh, is it that?
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Lisa, first one, phenotype.
No, what's the F2 generally?
Wait, do you do like the colors? You say that's the colors?
So phenotype would be the colors, yeah, not the genes.
So like the first ratio would be like red to pink to white.
So red, white, but it wouldn't be red. So? No. What, pink? Sorry, I misheard that. Pink? Yeah, yeah. Because what do we have there? The incomplete dominance doesn't quite do it. So red, white, pink.
Do you want the numbers as
So numbers would be
1 red, 2 pink, 1 white?
1
So 1 to 1 to 2.
to 1 to 2.
And then 25 to 50.
And then, or 25, 25%, 25%, 50%. Excellent. Often we put the heterozygous one in the middle. So if you did that and you had like red, pink, white, then you would have 1, 2, 1. But that's just convention and the way I'm used to seeing it. As long as you define your terms like that, you can put it any order you want. Yeah.
How do you figure out the ratio? You just count it?
So yeah, you just count it. Out of 4, how many are red?
There's 1 red, 2
1 red,
1 white,
1 white, 2 pink.
Because the phenotype is how many?
Are you really? Okay. Well, we also defined these. That's why we use letters. So incomplete. Can you see the white one there? Like the W? Can you see that? Okay. And you can see that R. I didn't actually color anything on here pink. I did it on there. And were you here last day? I think you were. Because I also wrote it here. When you have 2 genes in incomplete dominance, you get something that's a mix. And so that's why you get pink with RW. So instead of getting red or white, you get pink.
Oh, that's what you get red and white.
Yeah, and so the incomplete dominance is how you get some variations of shading. The genotype ratio, please. Zoe.
Are R to RW to
Give me uppercase, lowercase, because RR can mean a lot of things.
two uppercase R,
Two uppercase R's.
uppercase R, uppercase W,
Yeah,
and then two uppercase W.
yeah. And for this one, they are all uppercase, so I'm also checking that you know that. And what's your numbers for each one?
1, 2, 1.
1 to 2 to 1. Bertie.
We're talking about his color blindness, I'm actually.
Yeah, but you don't need to be talking about it. Poor Timmy doesn't want anybody talking about his colorblindness, unless he does. See? Doesn't. Bertie, stop bugging him. That's bullying. Poor Timmy. Okay. This is known as incomplete dominance. The next one we're going to do, hold it. And homozygous red flower mates with a homozygous yellow flower in incomplete dominance. What is the phenotype of the offspring? So the genotype of the parents and the offspring. So we have parents. This is the parent cross. R stands for red. Y stands for yellow. Show me the phenotypic and genotypic ratio of the F2 generation. F2. So make the parents, then make the kids, and that's the result we want to see. So F1, F2. Do you want to do this at the board? Or would you like to sit down and chat to people beside you? This is an example of incomplete dominance.
No, what if both the parents have recessive genes?
You can get, that's what this can be sometimes. Because if they both are equally strong, one isn't masking the other, then they sort of blend in.
Oh, okay.
So you can get a blending. You can also get one other thing, but I don't want to do it. Because this is incomplete dominance, but there's also co-dominance. You've seen flowers that aren't pink but are red and white. Sometimes you just get both. Yeah. If you take a black cow and you made it with a white cow, sometimes you get black and red cows. You don't get gray cows.
Black and red?
Black and, actually, if you take a white and a black, you actually don't get a black and white. You get sometimes all black and all white because the genes don't quite work that way. You don't get a Holstein from those other two. But it depends on the breed and depends on their exact genetics. The weird thing is all cows come from basically one ancestral breed.
Oh, I did do it. Wait, what?
Oh, it does not take long to breed animals for our purposes. There's a famous Russian early evolutionary biologist who got in a lot of trouble with the Russian government. And so he got sent to like the far north to do his work there. Basically, he also kind of volunteered for it because he knew if he stayed back he'd get in more trouble and maybe killed. So he had to work on a fox farm as a scientist. And he thought, why don't I try and make dogs? So he bred the foxes to be friendly. And I think it was like 7 generations. And he had, instead of like classic one color, pointy ears, foxes, he got floppy eared, friendly, multicolored pets. You had dogs in a very short amount of time. Yeah, it does. So you can easily see how like wolves sitting by the fire and getting fed scraps, and then humans like interacting and then sticking around, and then a couple breeding cycles where humans are choosing who gets to breed with whom. You get dogs really quickly.
What's the mix between red and yellow?
Color theory. To inform people, what is red and yellow? Orange. Oh, it's not pink? Who said pink? Bertie. Red and yellow is orange. Not pink. Someone said you said pink. Now I'm blaming Ben because he said you said pink. Ben, did you say pink? And I keep blaming Bertie for everything. So, red and yellow. Timmy, you won't be able to appreciate this, but it is orange. See here, what's the what the genotype of that offspring? RRYY, capital, 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 capital. What do you get?
RY.
RY, excellent. This is then the F1. That was the parents. We want to make to have the F2. Ariel, what do I put across the top and the sides?
It's RY. It's like R and then Y.
R and then Y. And then across the bottom?
And then it's R.
Yeah.
And then it's RR. Like.
Oh, you mean? Oh no, I was just asking
Oh,
for this.
okay, Y.
But no, if you want to go through and do that, that would.
Yeah. It's RR.
RR,
And then RY.
RY.
And then on the bottom it's RY. And then YY.
YY. Why does R come first? Why don't we write YR?
Because R is the more better one.
Nope.
Because R is in front of Y in the alphabet.
That's exactly right.
Actually,
Yeah, actually, biologists had to come up with a way to make it so that it's the same for everybody, and they just said alphabetical order. And then some people said, well, not everybody uses the same alphabet. And I said, well, we do.
That is the most
Yeah.
alpha response.
Go, Jimmy. Sit over there.
In the top left hand corner of the squares.
Yep.
I'm most confused.
What is the?
that's the parents.
Oh, these are the parents. So our parents of that. So this is the parent generation.
Oh, I see.
That would have been the F1. And I asked you for the F2, so you take those. They become the parents in here, and then this becomes the F2 generation.
How do you determine the parents then?
From I asked you for the F2. So F2 is after the children of so I gave you this as the parent generation. That makes this the F1, and there's only one possibility. So the next one is the F2. A question?
If it's in alphabetical order, how come for these ones we had the R before the B?
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, because I didn't think of it. I was wrong. Thank you.
Don't say
I frequently will tell students to slap themselves because I'm not allowed to slap them. So I think it's only fair that sometimes I do that. Now, Timmy, since you were looking down immediately, what's so fascinating down there? Pardon? Anyway, what color is this? Timmy, what color is this? No, not the literal color. What color does RR stand for? Red. And what color is this? Why? Yellow.
which one's left.
So what is the in between? RY. Nope. It's a bit unfair. But I said it earlier if you were paying attention. It's orange. I've even written it in the wrong colors just to honor anybody who might happen to be colorblind.
You should write it in red.
Yeah. Below, give the genotypic and phenotypic ratios then. Set them up. Let's ask Bertie, what's the genotypic ratio?
Hold on. You say.
While you get that together, I'm going to ask someone else for the phenotypic, and then I'll come back to you. Ben,
Yeah.
what's the phenotypic ratio? First of all, define the phenotypes.
So the phenotypes are RR.
Nope, you're doing genotype.
The phenotypes are red, yellow, and ratio would be 1 to 2 to 1.
1 to 2?
I mean, like red, orange, yellow.
Oh, if you do it that way, yes.
Just do 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2.
Oh, what?
It's fine, it's fine.
You keep changing your mind.
Red, orange.
If you do that one, red, orange, yellow, your ratio is
1 to 2 to
1 to 2 to 1. What do you notice?
Could you do it like
25, 25.
red, yellow, orange?
Yeah, it doesn't matter as long as you have the same numbers underneath. Okay, Bertie, next one.
It's also just from the ratio and
No, I want to define them first. What are the genotypes?
the RY actually. RY and YY.
YY? What's the ratio?
1, 1, 2.
1,
Or like, I guess with RY it'd be 1, 2, 1.
1 to 1. What do you notice about the genotypic and phenotypic ratios in incomplete dominance?
They're the same.
They're the same. Because there's no masking anymore, so you can actually see their genotype. Next one.
Do we not put the percentages in here?
Oh, I made you do both at the beginning because sometimes we ask for percentages and sometimes we ask for ratios. So as long as you can do that, you don't have to. But 25, 50, 25, 25, 50, 25. Codominance. Codominance is when both genes are equally expressed. Mendelian genetics means that there is no such as you have dominant and you have recessive. As soon as we talk about incomplete dominance and codominance, this is non-Mendelian genetics. It's beyond what Mendel himself first discovered. So instead of having pink flowers, if you have a red flower and a white flower, the offspring are red and white. So you see stripes or dots or different petals will have different colors. You have white petals and red petals. The genotypes of parents will look very similar. Let's go R, white, white, and you get R, white. All genes are shown in uppercase. Oh, where's the? What time is this?
Why do they both have to be uppercase? Why couldn't it be if they were both like not dominant genes? Or what are the other ones? What if they were both small letter genes?
What if they were both what?
What if they both were like non-dominant genes?
When you were talking about codominance,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as a non-dominant gene. So you get both.
Okay.
So there is no recessive, there is no dominant. They both are.
But like, let's say you go like one generation back, there is a dominant, non-dominant. Then
No, this is not a if one generation back. For these genes, this is always the case in this situation. I would like you to show the parent cross. And then fill in the F2 generations. So show the creation of the and I thought I'd show some pictures of it. I don't think I have any pictures on here. Did I hide them anywhere? No. Let's just paste one. There we go. So there is an RW.
What?
What's this? Ah, that's where I was hiding them. There we go. They are, because I'm giving you very simple examples in which you always see all of them. So I'm not giving you an example where the parents are too different, but we're going to do more of those. So William, Ren, what would the parent cross look like?
For like R.
What are the parents?
Red.
Yeah, but in terms of their genes. Yeah, I already gave it to you. So this is the parent cross. So whenever I say parent, I mean the ones I gave you. What is the F1? RW. So now, give me the F2 by filling that into there and give the genotype and phenotype. No, you don't have to do it right now, like on your sheets, so that we've got everybody up.
What is the phenotypic ratio just like?
That's the actual, like, what they look like.
Red and white is pink.
Phenotype is always, so red and white is not pink. This is codominance. What is, in codominance, they are equally expressed. So if you have R and W, what do you have? Red and white. So we have this. There's our red. And there is our white flower,
Done.
creating our red and white flower.
Is this correct?
Genotype and phenotypic ratios below. Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming that the Punnett square shouldn't take you too long to do. And we've seen the phenotype and genotype ratios fairly often. See here. What would the F1 generation look like? What's across the top and the side, and then fill out the middles?
RW, on the top, RW on the side as well.
And then what's inside?
In the top left is RR, top right is RW. And then bottom left is RW, and then bottom right is WW.
Excellent. And what would then the phenotypic ratio, Zane, what would that be?
The phenotypic?
Yeah.
The R.
No, that's genotype. So what do they look like?
Oh, red, pink,
Nope.
white.
We have red. White was correct. But the very beginning I said no pink.
Oh, red, white.
Red, white.
Light.
So red and white. So if you take, you are breeding plants or animals together and you get one that's one color. Let's say you've got blue, you've got another white flower. You breed them together because you would like a lighter blue, and instead you get blue with white spots. You have an example of codominance. Both are being expressed. Or you get it white with little pink lines. If you try to do that with flowers from the grocery store, you will very quickly discover those flowers sometimes don't have the true colors. They'll change the colors by putting dye into the food, and then you get all these cool things that happen, but they don't actually have that color as part of their genetics.
If you put like food coloring in like a flower's water, does
Pardon?
that change? If you put food coloring in like a flower's water, doesn't that change?
Yeah, it changes its colors on its leaves, so the environment will have a lot to do with it too. Okay, what's the ratio?
1 and then 2.
Yeah?
25,
25, 50, 25. What's the genotypic ratio? Bertie?
RR, RW, WW.
And what's the ratio then?
1,
2, 1. Now, you're seeing this all the time, that 1-to-1 ratio, because first of all, I want to make sure everything pops up when we're doing it. We're also giving you parents that are all one and then all the other, and then you see a mix of 50%. Of course, real life, this could have been capital R, lowercase r, and we'll give you some chance to practice those. After we do some codominance as it relates to blood typing. Blood typing, where's the link? This is the one area where Mendelian genetics really, really, really does have a strong.
This one.
Where is it? What? They changed the link. No.
Whoa, last one.
Now this is one of those areas. Blood typing used to be used in terms of crime scenes, and still is sometimes because you can't always get DNA, but sometimes you can get blood typing. This girl's in university. They're teaching her Punnett squares because it's an early biology class. Sorry for the website. But this was live tweeted out and then confirmed by other members of the class. Her blood type didn't make sense. She confused the blood types, and I'm going to show you what that was and how she did it. The prof told her to check her blood type in order to find it out, and it turns out her mom had an affair with her husband's brother, which is his stepbrother. So technically, she's been raised by her uncle her entire life, and her mom didn't tell anybody, and so that was found out, and she revealed that all of it in class, which is not something I would have done. Pardon?
No, only the mom did.
Only the mom did.
Why would you raise so many ways in your child?
Well, again, much the same as the Marvel Universe has shown us. He may have been the other person may have been the biological dad, but the person who raised her was her daddy. So there's that. In addition, her blood type, and you should, even before we go through this, be able to spot what's wrong with this. Her blood type was AB. Her mom was type O, I believe, and her dad was type A. Why wouldn't that work? Yeah.
Because, like, where'd the B come from?
Where'd the B come from? If neither of your parents have a B blood type, it is actually quite difficult to get that on your own. Now, this has also happened, and people have found out that the parents that have been calling their parents for 21 years are their parents. They raised them, but the hospital accidentally got the baby switched off before the wrist things were on. And so actually, they were just swapped in the hospital and nobody knew. There's even weirder conditions in which a woman, this is one of the states that really wanted to stop giving money to people. So they put in a requirement. If you said, like, you're on welfare, I've got 3 kids, you had to prove genetically that those kids were yours. Or produce adoption papers or something like that. So the woman went through the process, I've got 3 kids, on welfare, puts it in, and the state rejects her. You're guilty of fraud. Those aren't your kids. And she's like, they are my kids. Like, I was there in the room when they were born. And so they check, because obviously something's gone wrong with the test. She gets a lawyer involved. Nobody really wanted to take her case because it seemed odd. How could they not be her kids? Because it turns out they were her husband's kids. But they weren't hers.
Wait, but how does that work?
How does that work? She's what's known as a chimera.
Oh.
So, her genetics, when her egg and sperm fertilizer, some of her genes on her XX chromosome, what it turned out is that in the womb, she started growing with a non-identical twin. And then at some point in that process, they merged back together again. So her body, which is perfectly normal and functions fine, it's not like she has an extra head anywhere. Some of her organs are genetically a different person. So her blood was that of her sister, while her eggs were, you know,
So her sister never
I've also
realized
heard
it.
yeah.
that.
So like her blood was her, her eggs were her sister. Like it depends on how you want to define it. So parts of her body actually were genetically different from other parts of her body.
Hasn't that also happened with people who have gotten donated organs?
Yep. They thought they were a good organ donor, and then the organ they donated was a different. It's incredibly rare. There is like estimated 3 people in all of the U.S. and Canada and Mexico, I think, in all like in North America that have this condition. In like Europe, I think there's estimated to be 4 or 5. We only know about a couple because most people don't know if you have this. Yeah. Okay. Blood typing. You know about the ABO system. I'm hoping to do a blood typing lab. So you are going to test your own blood type.
Do we pick our fingers?
You prick your fingers.
Whoa.
You're going to stab them. You're going to get some blood out. Now,
Oh, we chop it.
I want to see somebody fade.
now, Zane, there's a couple of things. Number one, if you don't feel you can do your own blood type, then you can ask someone else who is and get their results and do it. I'd like you to be here as much as possible. If you're the person that faints at the sight of blood, you need to tell us, because I've had 2 concussions in Biology 12 doing a similar lab, because someone thought has fainted at the sight of blood, didn't tell anybody, so they weren't seated when they fainted, and they just went over left that way and hit their head. So you got to be seated down, and we're going to make it a rule. While you're doing this, everybody has to be seated. My telling you that you might faint has just doubled the chances that you might faint. However, the chance is really quite low, and although I doubled it, it's still a small number. But it happens to a lot of people. It may only happen once. I know someone who went into medicine and they fainted at blood all the time. They did actually manage to figure it out eventually. But we don't want to actually have anybody hurt themselves. You do stab your finger with a metal lancet and then squeeze the blood out and then test it. It's fun. Lots of fun. Yes, real biology.
What is
I actually figure out if our samples are fresh. It might not be for a couple of weeks because we're going to have to order it again. Yep.
What if you don't react well to like needles?
As I said, you don't have to do it. I'm not going to make anybody stab themselves who really don't want to. If this is a bit like dissecting, it's for educational purposes. Even if you don't like needles, I would encourage you to do it anyway because it's about finding out about yourself. So if you can grit your teeth and get through it, I'd be happy if you could. But if you really can't, that's totally fine. I know people have different effects with needles. I had one girl in my Biology 12 class whose phobia of needles was so high. After we did the lab, she actually managed to make it through it. She had to go. She asked if she could use the results because she was traveling internationally, and she had to know her blood type before she started, and get a couple of shots. And she was wondering if this would reduce because now she'd learned her blood type. From this lab, you do not guarantee that you know your blood type. You have done it. A professional has not. So you might make a mistake. So don't use this as something to tell the hospital if you need it. So I said, no, you have to actually go uptown and do it. So she said, well, I trust you as my teacher. My parents aren't here. Can you come with me and hold me down? I'm like, what do you mean? You're like, when a needle comes into a room, not like the little ones we had in the classroom, but like a big needle, I will actually scream and try and run away. It's completely involuntary. And I was like a brand new first year teacher. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I went up, and then she said, no matter what I say, don't let go. And then the person comes with a needle, and then she started screaming at me and said, let go. So I did. And then the person went away, and she was like, no, you can't do that. You have to keep hold. So I actually held on to her, and then they came, and then they gave her the vaccines, and then they got the stuff she needed for her blood type. I probably would never do that again because that seems really sketchy. But I know that phobias can be fairly involuntary when they happen. So no, you don't have to. But know that is coming. Hopefully, I'll be able to give you a closer date in the future once we know how fresh our samples are. But
Can I actually bite off my
oh no! It's not your blood sample. The stuff you mix it with is an organic material. Okay?
Can I actually?
Well, hold on, no. Don't just start talking. As soon as I pause, this is not a time for everybody else to start talking. Zane.
Can I actually bite off my finger, or is that a myth?
No,
That has nothing to do with blood typing. I'm not going to answer the question right now because that's just disruptive. Any other questions?
Psychologically, no.
Matthew, that's not a chance for you to answer the question. Anybody else? Okay, I do want to go over blood typing before we're done, because we have 5 more minutes. Codominance and blood typing. We have 3 alleles for blood type. This is a lie. We have 4, but I'm not going to tell you about that.
What?
You know how you're...
Oh, negative.
I'm not positive.
Yeah, what's the negative and positive?
Matthew. Again, when I pause, it's not a chance for everybody to start talking, but if you're answering the question. The one I'm not mentioning is the positive and negative. There's a 4th one that was discovered later. It just adds some extra complexity to this, and we're not going to do it. But when we do our lab, you're going to test for it, whether you're Rh positive or negative. The Rh stands for rhesus monkeys, because that's where they first discovered it in. But we're going to start with the original system, which is A, B, and O. A and B are specific antigens that are on your blood on the outside that your immune system reacts with. They are codominant. And in terms of what they are specifically, they are antigens in the wrong person. They are for cell recognition. So an antigen is something an antibody reacts to. You do not react to your own antigens. But if you are type A blood and someone gives you type B blood, your body will attack it like it's a foreign invader because it's never seen type B before. It assumes it's bacterium, and then all your blood clots in your veins. Yes?
Why is it ABO and not ABC?
Because O is not a real blood type. It's a misreading. It's from people just reading and go, oh, it's O. O is actually a 0. Okay? O means you don't have one. It's recessive. So if you are type AO, then you are type A in terms of your phenotype. If you are type AA, you are type A in terms of your phenotype. If you are type BO, then you are type B in your phenotype. So O is just a recessive gene. It is the lack of antigens. So O is actually standing in for 0. That means you don't have something. It's not making something.
Does your body not react to O because it doesn't have any antigens?
Yeah, so there's no antigens there for your body not to react with it. So if you have type OO, that means your blood can be given to anybody and they won't react. Was that your question? Yeah. Now, if you're type AB, you can receive blood from anybody and you won't react to it. Because you've seen A and you've seen B, and AB then won't be a problem, A won't be a problem, B won't be a problem, and O. So the best type to be is type AB. Now RH is another one that we're not going to put in there because it just makes it more complicated. But RH positive means you have another antigen called RH, and they didn't call it C for whatever reason. If you are RH negative, that means you just don't have it. It's like type O, like you just don't have it. So if you're O negative, you can give to anybody. I know 2 people, and the local blood bank has their number. Because if someone needs blood right away, they phone them and come and get them. Because they live on a tiny little island off of our coast, Pender Island. And one lives on, it's the one next to it, starts with Maine, I think. And so if they can't get to the mainland in time, and there's a bad accident, and they need blood right now, their little clinic that they have on the island, they'll actually call that person up, and they'll do a live blood transfusion right there, because they have type O negative. They can give to anybody, this person. If you have AB positive, you can take from anybody. You are like the ultimate vampire. All blood is yours.
Wouldn't that mean that if you're O, like, no one could donate for you?
You can only receive from O negative.
Yeah, so you can donate for everyone, but no one can.
No one can donate for you except another O negative. Yeah.
That sucks.
AB positive, is there AB negative?
Yeah, there is AB negative.
Is it the same, like they can receive from anyone?
Yep. No. If you're AB negative, then you can only receive from A negative, B negative, and AB negative. That means you can't receive from anybody that's positive. This has implications for giving birth, because if you are type, say, O, and your baby is, say, type O positive, that means in that process, you might attack your baby's blood. Now, normally, through the placenta and everything else, your blood doesn't come in contact. But in the birthing process, sometimes it's a little traumatic. There can be tearing, and blood can be mixed. At that point, the mom's blood may get exposed to the baby's Rh positive, and then the baby safely born, will start making antibodies against Rh positive. Rh is important because those antibodies can actually cross the placental barrier and can attack the next baby who's Rh positive. Yes?
In what case would someone need another person's blood?
You would need a what?
Another person's blood.
Oh, you're in a car accident. You've lost a ton of blood. Right, your heart can't pump unless it has volume. I'm going to stop there, and what I'm going to ask is, can you, right now, put all your stuff away, put everything in your bags, and turn this room into an exam room. Separate all the desks and make it look as scary as possible. The grade 12s are about to write an exam. All facing the front. Quick, move the desks. Sorry, I should have given you more time. Please separate the desks. Separate, turn them into rows.